Alrighty, how's it going, everybody? We should be live now, and it looks like we've already got a decently flooded chat with a lot of people who are viciously awaiting the movie that we're going to be watching, and unfortunately, as usual, we are 8 minutes late because technical difficulties are the only thing that I know how to speak in. So, with that said, as usual, let's go ahead and go over what happened the last time. The last time we had Nathaniel Walters on, and we left on another misappropriated quote from Stephen Gould. We are currently 42 minutes into the video, or movie. Should I call it a movie? It technically is. I think that's still a little too charitable. But
it's more like a YouTube video. Yeah. It's,
it's more like a bad YouTube video. So it's like what I produce. But with that said, we do have another guest on today, as usual. We do have one missing guest as well. Bionic Dance has decided she did not want to continue with the series for the time being because we are into the more science-heavy stuff, and that's not something that she wanted to be a part of as much. She felt like she wasn't able to do a whole lot during the last video as a result, and that's fine. I greatly appreciate the fact that she was on for the first 4 episodes, and that's more than I could have asked of the other people who are stuck here as well. But with that said, first time we did just us, second time we had Aaron Ra, then we had Jim Hall, then Nathaniel Walters. This time we have something a little bit special. We have Nagatsuchi, or the Raging Atheist, and he happens to be one of the people who Matt decided to mishandle in his movie. I guess that's the best way we could say it. But with that said, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself, Nagatsuchi, and then we'll go down the list?
Yep, I'm Nakatsuchi, aka The Raging Atheist. You can find me on YouTube at The Raging Atheist. I do a lot of, YouTube videos where I pick on Christians and the religious. I do a lot of work on Matt Powell, and I'm looking forward to having this conversation.
Awesome. And the link to his channel and everyone else's channel is in the description below if you want to go ahead and head over there and subscribe, just so you guys have the ability to do that without having to do any Google searching. I know that for some people, doing Google searching is really difficult. Totally not talking about Matt Powell at all. That was not a pointed joke. I'm lying.
No, not at all.
I don't think it was.
I'm lying, which again is also a pointed joke. So next up, Sean, or Atheist Rationale. How's it going?
That's going pretty good. So quick intro who I am. I'm the Atheist Rationale. Basically what I do on my channel is I find a bunch of really out there Christian videos and debunk them, crack some jokes, goof on some cringe, that sort of thing. I also like finding some of the more dangerous viewpoints that might come out of religious ideologies and expose those for what they are, like the new IFB, for instance. And my latest project, the Cult of the Sacred Secretion. Now,
oh dear.
I do need to make one clarification on that. Whether or not this John St. Julian Sacred Secretion thing is actually a cult is still under questioning, but he does seem to secretly run a church out of a charity, which is a little sketchy. And there's a lot of other stuff. If you want to know more about that, go to Philosophically Godless's channel and watch the video there. It's called Jim Carrey and the Sacred Secretion, I think.
I'm still calling him Godless Iowan.
Yeah.
Freaking, sorry, branding be damned.
Yeah. You should check it out there to learn more about that.
And then,
new IFB video is coming up next. Gonna do the bite model analysis of Steven Anderson specifically. So
Awesome.
Look for that in the next week or two.
And then last but not least, we have Frustrated Atheist.
Hello, I am Frustrated Atheist. You can find me on YouTube with the same name if you don't know who I am. You can also find me under the name Russ Nye the Science Guy on Twitter, where I've been just kind of combating people who keep saying stupid shit. I do that on my YouTube channel as well. I just go after people who say stupid things, and I also have a video that I'm in the process of working on. I've been working on it for a while because I've been kind of perfecting it and then stopping for a while because of things having to do stuff at the house and whatnot. But it shall be coming out here in a few days. Awesome. It is my my NIFB thing, and one of the reasons why it hasn't come out already is because I'd gotten some information from that will help. That's going to now be in the video. So it's taken time to add more to the script that I've already been working on. So
Awesome.
other than that, I do other things like I'm going to start a cancer cure treatment series, and I have my science for the newly deconverted. If you want to go check it out, working on that as well. So there's that.
I'm excited for that cancer cures one. If you get into it, you should do G-Man's vitamin B17 thing. That'd be hilarious.
You might
Yes,
also want to point out where he pulled it from. There's an entire little sub-history in the GDC for where he pulled all that crap from.
Yes, I've done some research into the B15 and all that stuff, where people have been getting this, and I have one thing from Google Scholar that I've been reading into, where people have said that B15 has been curing this and what it actually is and whatnot. So.
Fun fact for those who are listening, vitamin B17 metabolizes into activated cyanide, just in case people are wondering why it's problematic.
Yes, and the fact that these people who keep saying this, use B17, shows their ignorance, because they really are something they're trying to pretty much tell you, hey, take enough of this so that way you die.
Yeah, that's definitely not something they should do. Also, speaking of Philosophically Godless or Godless Iowans channel that Atheist Rationale brought up, me and Frustrated Atheist actually have a 4-way collaborative video that is on Godless Iowans channel with me, him, Secular, and the Godless Iowan. So that's also something you guys should check out. I don't have that linked in the description below. That's because I'm a horrible YouTuber, and I'm sorry about that. But I just wanted to let everybody know that's a thing that is there. But with that said, like we said before, we are 42 minutes into the movie, and we are 7 minutes into this presentation. We've got 79 viewers so far that are willing to have their heads shoved against the wall just like we are. So let's go ahead and click the button and see what other silly shit is in this. As per usual,
we'll be lucky if we get through the next 10 minutes.
You know, if we get to the next 10 minutes, then I'll go ahead and say that it's a miracle. I'll even attribute it to their god. It's okay. That'll be fine.
I'm going to go with consensus. I'm not going to go with the crazy kook conspiracy.
Hey, who's that guy?
theories. I'm just
Yeah,
not.
but this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a scientifically proven fact that just came out.
So, I'm just going to go ahead and throw out, everybody already knows that that's the Tech Times article, which is not a scientifically proven fact. It's a terribly misappropriated article that everybody and their sister's already done something on by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told him that I would look at that when I got home, and didn't bother.
We actually did a response to it with Bible Flockbox, but the article doesn't draw the conclusion that Matt Powell and his ilk are trying to say that it does.
Yeah, he said
I don't
even
remember what it was.
So Matt Powell tries to say that, look, it says that all of these things came into existence at once. When actually the article is saying that, you know, these 90% of species came into existence within the same 100 to 200,000 year span. But that's all species we have existing right now, and we currently have only 1% of the species that have ever existed on our planet still alive. On top of that, by the article simply saying these species came into existence within 100 to 200,000 years of one another, that throws every single young Earth creationist, the Earth is 6,000 years old idea under the bus. It's like when Matt Slick does his thing, where he says that, what if you're just a brain in a vat? Oh, well, cool. Let's go ahead and roll with that, Matt. Or Cy10 has done this as well. You can roll with the brain in the vat thing and just go, cool, if we're all brains in a vats, then where is your God? Don't take a position that undermines your own position just so you can win a conversation. It's not honest.
I do want to point something out, though, about that article. When they say that they're appearing all at once, what they mean is that they're actually evolving from that 10% of species that was already there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're talking about speciation, and from a different genetic perspective than we're most familiar with. They're talking from mitochondrial DNA rather than nucleic DNA.
Yep, and
Probably
even Lisa for Truth in the chat said 90% isn't 100% Matt.
And the thing is it's funny because it's the same instance whenever they talk about the Cambrian explosion. They think that, all of this just happened instantly. It was like,
no.
What explosion means is that it took less than what it normally had been.
It also just has to do with the sheer volume of species that were around during that time.
Yes.
Just like the Big Bang.
Yes.
The Big Bang's not an explosion. The Big Bang's a pejorative. Universal expansion is a very slow process from the singularity. We have a mathematical calculation that brings us to about t equals 0. So the misinformation is strong. But we'll go ahead and continue.
Yeah, well, real
I
quick,
believe that you.
real quick, when I was discussing this with Matt Powell, and I never heard of this article, didn't know about it. At first, I just wouldn't respond to it. But if you go to my video with Matt, the Raging Atheist versus Matt Powell, and I had this whole conversation, I think near the end of it, I do admit, all right, this is a possibility, because if you study evolution, and the fossil record shows this, that Africa was special. Africa was a special place that generated a lot of life. Modern humans became modern humans from hominids because of the special conditions in Africa at the time. So I came to that conclusion, that over a period of time, Africa could have pushed out a whole plethora of life. So I did kind of come to that conclusion in our conversation, but of course, Matt didn't include that in his movie here.
Well, there's a lot of things Matt didn't include in his movie, like being genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to be perfectly
And
honest.
there's been several times in the movie where you go to say something, and or he says something to you, and he leaves this long pause in between what happened from what he said, as if you have no answer whatsoever.
Yeah. I think he edited those parts. See, I haven't come to that part, but I've definitely in part 2. I show that in part 2 of his movie that he directly edits answers into questions. So like even one of them's not even a question. It's part of a longer statement he made. He just edited the statement in half, and then added the part where I'm talking about how there's a theory that humans came from the stars. He put that in. That wasn't my answer to the question. That was an answer to an absolute earlier in the conversation. So, I mean,
You were even bringing it up as a hypothetical, not even as like a real response.
Yeah, and he makes it look like, well, that's what I believe, and thus every atheist must believe that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and
Well,
I think using any atheist as the gold standard for atheists is going to be disingenuous at all. Like, if I were to use Matt Powell as the gold standard for all Christians, then I would think that all Christians are lying sacks of shit. But they're not, because Matt's not the example for all Christians.
Atheists are not the same. I just did a video on the creativity movement where you have an organization of atheists that are far right-wing neo-Nazis. They're not going to represent the atheist community. I'm the Raging Atheist. My whole persona is I'm angry about it. That doesn't represent the whole atheist community. Not every atheist is that angry atheist.
All right.
But I think that you do. I think that you look for some of the worst arguments you can find to get a reaction.
You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink. And a lot of these evolutionists and a lot of these atheists, they want nothing to do with the facts.
Essentially, you can get a universe from nothing without any supernatural shenanigans. That basically, by quantum mechanics and the laws of physics we understand in principle, an entire universe with 100 billion galaxies, each containing 100 billion stars, can come from nothing because its total energy could be 0. And therefore, you don't need to literally violate any laws of physics to create a universe. And no, we don't know that for certain.
Then how did we go from nothing to something?
Because in fact, if you add up all the energy in the universe, it looks like it's 0.
This is how education works today in America. It's just everybody's
oh boy, tell us,
taught,
Anderson.
Hey, listen, evolution's a fact.
All right, I just want to say, that's something that they do, and this is something that Matt Powell does a lot. They try to take some of the smartest people in the world and then take a little clip, and they did it with me in their movie, but they take a little clip of them and misrepresent them. You know, I've studied Cross a bit since I met with Matt Powell, and Cross doesn't think that we came from zero. There's a lot more math behind it. There's a lot more science behind it, and they're just not giving you everything there is.
Well, yeah. Well, the way Cross usually explains it is the fact that the total energy of the system, which would be the universe at t equals 0, would be close to, if not 0.
Well, the total active would be, because all you'd have is potential at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they don't understand that.
Yeah, and the thing that they don't get, because they think that we follow these people like there are clergy. They're not. They're people that we sometimes like their ideas and sometimes don't. Just because Lawrence Cross or anybody else is going to say a thing doesn't mean, just because Stephen Hawking says the universe comes from nothing doesn't mean every atheist believes the universe comes from nothing. We don't pretend to know, but we do look up to these figures that are slightly smarter than we are. And
the
I'm probably going to go with their intelligence over mine, you know.
Well, the difference between people like us and people like Matt is we are willing to go, and I know that if simply by me saying that, I could be misrepresenting Matt. I'm very well aware of this, and if I am, he has every ability to let me know in the comment section below. It's not like he's not familiar with my channel. But if any of us did not know something, we would defer to whoever we deem to be an authority on the subject. As an example, just within this group, anytime that I need a particular piece of information about the NIFB, I am not the one focusing my research efforts on the NIFB. So what do? I divert to Sean.
Yes.
There's several times where I've diverted to Sean and said, hey, do you have a clip where X happens within the NIFB? I feel like it should be out there, or I know it's out there, but I either don't have the time, or I don't know where I would find it. Sean is good at finding that information. I will defer to him.
I've got probably an organized file of hundreds of their videos now. Well, probably not more than 100, but pretty close.
Or for instance, if I needed to know how to translate something out of the SCP, I would go to Steve McRae, more than likely. If I needed to know something about phylogeny, I would go ahead and shoot Aaron an email. Just be like, hey, Aaron, could you help me out with this thing? This is actually the reason why my What's the Harm video has a disclaimer on it about my part on Leonard Bailey. Because I had Aaron fact-check me, and Aaron pointed out that I misrepresented something in there, and that's the reason there's a disclaimer in that video. If one of us doesn't know something, we are willing to defer to an expert or an authority.
Exactly.
Anderson and Powell are not willing to do this.
No. Yeah. And that's what gets me about these people is, they are able to successfully twist an honest yearning for knowledge against us. So, you follow Dawkins, you follow Hawkins, that's your religion now. So their success, they're really good at creating a narrative that simple-minded people are going to be able to follow.
Or you get
I'm gonna turn a light on.
Or you get this lovely piece of misinformation they use all the time, where they say, this goes with the undermining your own position based on what you say, where you say you don't have a religion. For instance, I don't have a religion. Atheism has nothing to do with religion. You can have a Buddhist who's an atheist who has their religion. But most of us here, for all I know, do not subscribe to a religion and are atheists. Matt will say, we'll point out some of the negatives with religion, some of the reasons why we don't like it, like groupthink and stuff like that. And then someone like Matt will say, well, evolution is your religion. You have a religion. You have a religion. Not even realizing that he's using that as a pejorative, which does nothing but undermines his own position. It doesn't benefit him at all to throw somebody under the bus with a word that he himself subscribes to, unless, of course, he's one of the types of Christians that does this weird thing that I've noticed. I don't know if you guys have seen it too, where there are some Christians that say that, Christianity is not a religion. It's not about religion.
It's a relationship.
Yeah, and they're like, no, it's a religionship.
Yeah.
Stop.
There was a comment on Raging Atheist thing today somebody was saying that on Matt Powell's Facebook, he has it written that he's in a relationship with Jesus.
You know,
I had to take all my comments. That's funny.
But
that's got to be the most abusive relationship of all time. You're with a genocidal, filicidal maniac who won't even text back.
I do want to kind of point back to something, though. I feel like one thing that the NIFB people seem to do is they ignore all of the other people that have put their efforts into researching evolution. It's not just Ernst Haeckel, even though he didn't really, or not just Charles Darwin. They seem to.
Yeah, Darwin didn't invent the theory of evolution. It was told to him by another scientist, and he realized his work proved it.
Yeah, he refined it. Well, it's like when is the time where one of these people are going to cite someone like Sigard, who's a biologist who agrees with evolution, and oh, by the way, is a Christian?
Yeah. There's the Vatican now doesn't denounce evolution anymore, and in fact, the Vatican has one of the largest observatories in the world looking at the stars. I mean, just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you have to deny science.
Of course, for people like this, and I've had, again, if I misrepresent Matt in any way, he can let me know in the comment section below. That's his prerogative. He has every ability to do that. But for people like this, what I generally hear is that Catholics aren't real Christians.
I've got Matt saying that on in our conversations. We had a big that was a big segment.
Well, I'm finally to the point where I'm going to cave on that.
I think basically any church that doesn't conform to like their 7 requirements isn't considered a like real church. And even then, Stephen Anderson, even though he'll say anyone that he excommunicates from his congregation can go to these other IFB churches, he still demonizes those as ones that don't particularly follow the word the correct way. So
Matt's exactly the same way. He'll talk about having these there's only 2 worldviews. Either you believe in God or you don't. But then
the 2 religions nonsense.
But as much crap as he talks about atheists, he talks as much crap about every other denomination besides Baptist there is. You're not the right Christian if you don't believe that homosexuals are abomination. You're not the right Christian if you don't live biblically, and that's different than modern Christians. Modern Christians don't live biblically. They're not going to stone a woman to death for cheating on her husband. Matt thinks that you need to live that way, and if you don't believe that, you're not a Christian. Not a real one.
Sorry to segue into something, but I just want to point this out. One of the things that are really important, or one of the things that is kind of very important to know about these new IFB people is a lot of them have been in it basically since birth. One of the old IFB and one of the new IFB's biggest things is homeschool education.
They've got people in the comment section of a lot of videos that are just screaming out, "I'm a homeschool Christian!" in all caps.
Earlier. I'm like, dude, you didn't have to tell me you're homeschooled. I can figure that out.
The only reason they're doing this, though, is because of a documentary that was just released a few months ago that has to do with homeschooling and the fact that they believe that all public schools are tools of the Jews and Satan to,
teaching that evil
evolution and the Big Bang Theory and take you away from God. It's ridiculous.
I call him out on it, and he doesn't include it, of course. But I'm like, dude, it's based on the state's curriculum. If you don't want to teach evolution, you go to a state that doesn't. You can go to Texas, and they will teach you right now that Noah is a real guy and Hillary Clinton never existed. And he didn't want to talk about that. He changed the subject immediately.
I feel like I should point out, though, that I'm using the quotations to point out that I'm exaggerating only slightly. It really is kind of that bad, though.
Yeah. Well, on the last thing I'll say on the behavior they have where they say that people aren't real Christians for X, Y, and Z, I'm finally caving on that whole subject, and I actually have a video that's going to be going up on my channel here in a few weeks, hopefully, assuming that scheduling works out the way it should, where I'm going to be getting the Catholic Fusionist, for anybody who's familiar with him, Me and him are going to be trying to collaborate on a video about why Catholics are in fact real Christians. Because if somebody wants to say that Catholics aren't real Christians, then I guess real Christians didn't exist until the 1500s, which is weird.
That's my argument against that whole thing. Is, I mean, Christians were the first. Catholics were the first Christians. Jesus gave Peter the keys to the kingdom of heaven. He went on to pretty much create the Catholic Church in name, if not deed.
I've only recently found out that there was actually like tons of denominations back around 100 like AD or whatever. Like Gnostic Christianity was a pretty big thing for a while.
The Essenes, John the Baptist was an Essene, and they were very fundamental Jews for their time. They had,
all the Galileans were Essenes, I believe.
Yeah.
Gnostic Christianity has some crazy ideas, by the way. John St. Julian.
I've got the Gnostic Bibles on my book.
The Nag Hammadi Library, that's what it is, right?
Yep. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene, all of those. Pretty interesting reading. Different.
Have you got into any of the sacred secretion stuff yet? In your version, is it seminal fluid or brain secretions? Because every source you look at, it's different.
Yeah, no, I haven't gotten into that yet. But there's some weird people, man. They were weird back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Which is the reason why, their literature was burned, because they didn't want to show how cult-like the cult actually was. They wanted to show it to be a religion when it started as a cult, like every religion does.
All right, let's see what Pastor Steven Anderson has to say to us.
Big Bang's a fact.
Oh boy.
The Earth being billions of years old is a.
He's not wrong. Hey, look! We just managed to do to him the exact same thing that Matt Powell did to Nagatsushi, on accident, by just clipping that one part. We just got him saying Big Bang's a fact. If I were a dishonest person, I could take that clip and I could use it.
Oh, I'm gonna be doing some of that to Matt. I've got a lot of clips. Do unto me as I would do unto you.
I did something like that in one of my earlier Matt Powell videos, where like I took his truth about Islam and the LGBT thing and made it sound like he said he was gay.
Fact, just deal with it. And nobody wants to question it, because then they're going to be seen as ignorant, uneducated. How can you say it's a fact that the world came from nothing? It defies all the laws of science.
That's not what people say.
No law of science that's ever been tested or proven says that things come from nothing, all by themselves. It's nonsense. It's ridiculousness. And they never ask the real questions. They want to talk about evolution all day long, but that only explains how one life form turned into another.
Holy shit, he admitted it! He admitted that that's all evolution talks about.
Did I just hear him say that pretty much explain how evolution doesn't ever say anything about where things come from? Did I really just hear him say that?
You heard him say that.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
He said it.
Not even wrong moment.
So in other words, he understands it. He just likes to misrepresent it, and this is the proven fact that he does.
If he's willing to say that, so he's willing to say what evolution is, because evolution is just about speciation. So he understands it, but yet he's willing to say that no, they say that evolution is how everything began. No, the fuck no, no scientist with any degree or with a degree of self-respect. I hate that those words are interchangeable there, but no scientist with a degree and a degree of self-respect would say the thing that you just said that they say. However,
no.
You've just proven, we have proof right here, non-edited from Matt's own movie, that Anderson knows exactly what the fuck evolution is, and yet he misrepresents it all of the time.
And this probably goes back to the whole entire fucking Kent Hovind thing about his whole entire several different versions of evolution, when it's all bullshit.
Also,
Kent
emotionally...
Hovind also has... Sorry, you can go, dude.
I was saying, we have a super chat from Emotionally Mimetic Psychopath. I'm going to work now. Have fun taking down these bad arguments. Also, that evolution admission, what the fuck?
What I was gonna point out is that Ken Oven also has like several different like flood versions, story versions that I think is kind of funny. Like one of them, a meteor impact goes through like the glass of the firmament and like causes the waters to come out of the earth or some shit. It's great.
Jesus.
It's so much fun to laugh at.
Okay, where'd the first life form come from? How did it come to life? See, instead of showing me a picture of an ape slowly turning into a human, you know that famous picture? I want to see a picture of nothing turning into a single-celled organism.
You know, we actually have something that's akin to that. The single-celled organism, by the way, can come through a process we know as abiogenesis. It's not quite a theory yet, but it is still one of the better working models we have for how you would take what is classically known as inorganic matter, but scientifically is still considered organic matter, and you move that into a single-celled organism. That single-celled organism then, through process of evolution, believe we had, a predator organism that managed to devour another prey organism, and then instead of digesting it the way that the single-celled organism normally would, they formed a symbiotic relationship leading to the first multicellular organism, and then from there you get the branching of multicellular life. And Aaron Ra actually is working on something called the phylogeny project that's supposed to show the branches we have for all of that in one giant database. So that thing that he wants, it's kind of there.
Yeah, not only is there that, but the fact that in Aaron's theory, systematic classification of life, he goes from the single cell to the multi-cell.
I have a question, guys. I have a question. So, Ian Fisher, whom we all know, has asked if he can join in here to talk to the Raging Atheist. Is this a thing that we should... This would be a first. Is this a thing we should do?
I'm good with it.
It'll keep us going on this stream for maybe a couple more weeks. I'm down.
I'm down too. Go ahead.
Is this the highlight of your week, Sean?
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, then that is a thing. Ian, you have permission to hop in. I will get you. What is the best way to send you a Zoom link so that you can hop in, and you will have every ability to come in here and say what you want to say, and as you need to say it.
All right. Yep, I'm gonna step out real quick. My daughter just got home. I'll be right back so I can talk with you.
Sure thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Ian, let me know. We can either continue the video while we're waiting for your response, but Ian, you have every ability to hop in. Let me know the best way to contact you. In fact, while you're letting me know that, I will go ahead and get the Zoom link prepared and ready so that I can send it to you so that you can hop in.
On that note, I think I'm going to be right back.
Perfectly fine. We take a small lull.
Is there a way to like turn off the camera but keep the thing going?
The best way to do it is to hit there's a camera button you can hit. There you go.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Ian has not said anything
back.
quite yet. Also, Darth Killer says, like Professor Zoom, the time traveler. No, Professor Zoom is much more diabolical than any of us could ever attest to be.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, this is going to be quite interesting. As long as he doesn't try to say things on the stream that will cause us to have this taken down.
Way to send you link to join. Well, the way I see it, if this video gets taken down because of something that Ian says, I'm not terribly upset about that. Not because I don't want to keep this video up, but I'll have this video in archive and I'll have access to it, so I can cut out, if need be, anything that he says. If we get like a Skylar Fiction issue, that way we can keep the episode. But I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think that Ian's going to do that. It's not that I know Ian very well, but I'm going to go ahead and employ the principle of charity and say that Ian's not going to say something that would get us taken down. I will, however, for safety of everyone involved, make sure that my avatar's face is covering his camera. That way we don't get a lovely... There's a thing people can do called porn bombing. And
that's one of the things that I was afraid of.
Yeah, I'm gonna have the camera covered up, so that's not gonna be a problem. But Ian, let me know. I mean, I've sent you a thing in the chat, letting you know, and I've said it here multiple times. you are more than willing. You are more than able to hop in.
It's pretty easy to say you want to converse with the Raging Atheist, but to actually do so.
Yeah, if it's a conversation you want to have, all of us are willing to have it. I mean, I've publicly mentioned you on my channel before when you made the video that Matt chopped up. So by all means,
I'll even go one further. If you don't even want to converse with the rest of us and just talk to the Raging Atheist, I'm more than happy to mute myself the entire time you're in here.
I'm willing to mute myself up until the point where I feel like I need to say something, but it's my channel, so I have prerogative to do so.
I'm interested to see what he wants to say, because he commented on my new video and tried to call me a liar. So I'd like to see how he's going to say I'm lying.
Well, one of the things I find funny, Raging Atheist, is that you had one video up about the whole entire thing about R and Ron and whatnot, and Matt Powell comments, and he goes on with this whole entire try to give this lovey-dovey love fest thing going on, and all I did was I simply said, unless he's a homosexual, right?
Where? Hold on.
Because then that goes completely out the window. Lovey-doveyness goes out the window if the Raging Atheist was a homosexual.
That feedback.
There was for some reason this started playing a sound that I wanted to play, but it would not actually open up my music player so that I couldn't modify volume or do anything. Ian, we have sent you. Ian isn't in the chat anymore. Ian is not in the chat. Let us see here. Is that the case?
Poor Ian. Ian didn't think that atheists would talk to him.
Well, this is exactly for word what he said. At 2:23, he said, "Let me join, please. I want to talk to the Raging Atheist." He lied. Those were the only 3 messages, from what I can tell, that he ever sent. And then he gets the opportunity to, and he doesn't do it.
Well, it seems that he's still addable. I can still at him. Also, hi, Mr. Logic. How you doing today? Mr. Logic's a good friend of mine. He doesn't upload a lot right now, but he is actually a good channel. If you guys could go subscribe to Mr. Logic, that would be great. That said, I can still at him, so I would assume that he's still in the chat. Let me change this over live chat just in case.
Yeah, I put it on live chat, and I don't see him responding anymore.
Yeah, I don't see that either.
And also, so the thing with Ian is he knows Matt. If he wanted to talk with me, he can get a hold of me. So what he's trying to do now is create a public spectacle, and he's going to try to catch me in some kind of a lie. I'm interested. I hope he joins.
I do too. Of course, if he's not going to hop in, I mean, that's his. I can't anchor somebody that's not in the chat. Now it says nothing about him being active or not. Yeah, if he's not active, then I mean, there's nothing we can do about that. But I would
And
love.
one thing I also know, Matt Powell has got to be watching this. He knows what's going on. Why isn't Matt Powell coming to defend himself?
Oh, Matt's not actually in the chat right now.
Yeah, but the thing is Matt Powell also, he's already stated that he's not going to talk to any of us anymore after this, apparently, because he only is going after the big guys like Oren and all them.
He's too big.
Apologist
We're
trying
too small for him.
What's his name?
So wait,
Sam Harris.
this is like Master Apologist going, somebody demand that Sam Harris debate me.
Yeah.
By the way, Master Apologist 2 is going to be coming out on my channel this week, just so if everybody wants some fun.
And it was funny because I took that tweet and I was like, he couldn't debate you. He can't debate Shannon. He can't debate Ocean. But he thinks that he can take on Sam Harris.
And Ocean's a polytheist. Ocean is a theist.
Yes.
He's half. I'm not going to say he's halfway batting for the same camp because he's not. But if they were to have a conversation on like, is theism rational, Ocean and him would agree. Like there's things they could agree on, and yet he won't even debate Ocean. Now, granted, out of all the people that were linked there, I think Ocean would stomp him the hardest, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Powell is going to tell you that he will debate anybody. But Aaron Ra's point that he made on this show was exactly right. Matt Powell reached out to me because I'm not in that scene. I don't debate clergy people, so he thought he could trap me easily. You're not going to trap a Matt Dillahunty or an Aaron Ra.
Well,
Matt Powell's scared of those guys.
Well, no. The thing is right now, the last comment that he's ever made about debates now, or even discussions, is that the only one he will discuss is Aaron Ra or Matt Dillahunty or anyone who has the numbers.
He wants to piggyback. He wants to piggyback off of their numbers in order to gain notoriety. That's what he wants. He wants to have a legacy the same way that Hoban does. And it's really gross because there's a side of it that I can understand because I'm decent friends with like Shannon Q and Apologia, and one of Apologia's points is always punch up, not down. And I to some degree I agree with that because punching down, I learned very, very quickly how inane a conversation can be when you're punching down. If you guys are tuned into the Atheist Edge channel at all, there was a debate that I had on there a few days ago with a guy named Ross and a pastor. Now, Ross had some cogent points, and we had a conversation. We didn't agree, and that was fine. But when it came to when it came to the pastor, me and him were talking, and it was like I sent the video to other people, and the consensus was that everybody else in the conversation was 7 heads over the pastor, as far as like understanding how any concept works in reality.
And
that's I guess pastor, that's
go ahead.
It's like when something like that happens, that shows me that there actually is some merit to Apologia's point: punch up, not down. Unfortunately, though, with someone like Matt, he's not punching up because he's actually trying to fight something. He's punching up because he wants the notoriety, and I don't think that's honest.
Yeah.
Also, JMD, you don't hook up Zoom with live streaming. You actually use Streamlabs, and you capture your Zoom through live streaming. It's a lot like building an image in Photoshop or MS Paint.
Matt Powell's in the chat now.
Hey there.
Oh, is Matt there?
Matt is there. So, Matt, we have attempted... Ian said that he wanted to hop in to talk to the Raging Atheist, and he said that he wanted to hop in. I've let Ian know that he has every ability to hop in if he wants. He can send me a direct message on Twitter or whatever method he wants to. But if you want to talk in here, I am more than willing to give you a Zoom link, and you can hop in here to speak if you want.
He just said, I am really wanting to talk to you guys just for a minute.
Okay.
Come on, Matt.
He probably what's it called? Ian Fisher probably went and messaged him as soon as he said that.
Yeah.
And if Ian wants Matt to come in and speak for him instead of Ian speaking, I'm okay with that as well. If that's what they want to do, then by all means.
Fine. Me and Matt can talk again.
Yep. So Matt, I know that you.
I'm sorry I haven't responded to any of your recent text messages, Matt.
Let's see here.
Hey, Matt Powell, I'm really interested in hearing any response to what I've been saying on these streams.
Oh, cheapus. It's okay, Sean. We all love you.
I'm willing to hear some feedback as well.
Well, let's see. I believe, Matt, didn't you have a Twitter at one point, or did that get taken down?
He did say give him 5 minutes. I don't know if he's gonna... I don't know if he has Twitter, but
he had a Twitter. He had a Twitter at one point. I don't know if he still has it though. So, apologies that we're not doing a lot of the response to the movie right now, but I think this is something that still needs to happen. That would be interesting.
Yeah, he just said, "Shoot me an email," and he put his email in the chat.
Okay, let me go ahead.
Tell me when you got the email, and I'm gonna delete that.
So is Ian coming in, or just Matt Powell now?
It might just be Matt Powell. If that's the case, then that's fine.
Did you get the email?
Let me, hold on.
Oh, shoot, I already did it.
That's fine. Should be okay.
Okay. I think you can view it anyway, so.
Let's see. We're going to go ahead and get him that email set up. Send the mail. Compose. I know this is riveting stuff, guys, where we're not actually doing anything. We're just doing emails and stuff, because that's totally...
This is awesome.
The
Yeah.
anticipation is mounting.
Yeah, Tad, that's exactly why I removed his email, so that way people like you couldn't just go in there and start emailing him.
Link to join. All right, you should see something from sirsforrune@yahoo.com. My email's public, so that's fine. The subject is going to be called Link to Join. It's going to have a link into here through Zoom. You can join on either your phone or you can join on your PC, whatever you are most comfortable with. But that link has been sent to you, Matt. You are
We
more
know
than
you
welcome
need
to
a
click
few
it.
minutes, Powell. We're not trying to rush you. Just take your time or whatever.
Yep. And I know that, under normal circumstances, we'd be spending this time talking about the movie. But if there's something that Matt wants to talk about, then we'll go ahead and let that take precedence here. That is fine with me. I have no issue with that.
I'm quite sure he wants to talk about my new video.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of things that Matt would like to talk to some of us about, and I am more than willing to give him a little bit of time to do so.
Matt needs to know coming in that I'm going to stand by everything that I have said, and I'm not going to back down.
You use Yahoo service? I'm unsubscribing.
Oh, darn.
Somebody wrote that in the chat. I thought it was funny.
I have used the same Yahoo email address, at least for most stuff, simply because I've had it since I was like 12. So there's thousands of emails in there that I just haven't read and don't read. Somebody just commented on my video that went up on Vice Rhino's channel when I mirrored it on mine. I should give you a thumbs down for the clickbait. I came to see a rhino. Oh well, I think I'll just subscribe. Like, if that video makes more sense on Vice Rhino's channel, where I was actually like impersonating him for the first 7 seconds and then moving into my video. It makes more sense over there. It makes less sense on my channel.
Kind of like that Tatis philosophy guest video on Philosophically Godless. He impersonated GI for a minute. It was hilarious.
I think anytime you've got people who everybody thinks sound alike, I think that's a really good running joke. Because like we've got people who are saying that me, Paulogia, and Vice Rhino all sound identical. And I get that there's like a little bit of we have a little bit of the same candor, and we have the same kind of like pseudo baritone voice.
A lot of the style is similar too.
Yeah. Well, we're all talking avatars as well, so it's not like you can put a face to it all the time. Even though me and Paul both have a lot of content where we actually do have our face up, so it's easy to see that. Like I said, Matt, you do have the link, and I'll go ahead and let you know in here as well that the link has been sent. Let me go ahead and refresh.
Hopefully this isn't some clever ploy to stop us from talking about his movie.
Well, here's how this works. So if that is the case, which I doubt it is, I'm willing to exercise the principle of charity. If that is the case, then as it turns out, all that does is mean that more episodes have to be produced, because the more interruptions there are in this series, the more episodes we inevitably have to do.
Yes.
So,
I don't think he understands that part of it. Like, you keep putting out videos, you're just more fuel for the fodder.
basically, like I don't mind it personally. I enjoy this. Like it gives me a video that I can do on Mondays. It gives me a chance to hang out with Sean and Russ and whatever extra guests we can hop on. Today it's you, which is awesome considering that you are actually a part of this movie. It's given me an opportunity to hang out with a lot of people, and I enjoy that. So pushing this further doesn't bother me. How dare you? At least Paul has lip sync. Paulogia does have lip sync, but his software allows him to do that automatically. Mine does not. If my software allowed me to do it automatically, I probably would also have lip sync. But I don't.
Doesn't Holy Kool-Aid have like that same kind of software for like lip sync?
It's a different software. For Holy Kool-Aid, his is using whatchamacallit, Go Animate, and Paulogia does his manually. He has a manual animation for his mouth that goes down that links itself to the waveform of the track that he's in. Also, I see...
That's trippy. Okay. I thought the way Holy Kool-Aids worked is like he still sat in front of a camera and talked, but like the animation went over it. I'm probably wrong.
I think Matt's here.
I see the phone symbol that says that Matt is here, but I do not know if he's necessarily in.
Yeah, he
I'm
might
here,
be.
guys.
Oh,
Awesome.
there he is.
There we are. How's it going, Matt?
What's up?
Hey, good. How are you guys doing?
Can't complain.
Pretty good.
What's up, Matt?
Hey, that's good. What's going on, Ron? Hey, I wanted to just say, I know you guys are busy doing your thing. I hardly have time to keep up with all the response videos I get, but people in my church keep telling me that you guys are doing this, and I really don't understand what the deal is. And I just want to say this right now. Like, you know, the guys that filmed the film with us, Ronnie, and you remember this well, they all were homeschool kids. They're Christians. They're not going to mess with your stuff. You know, I mean, do you really think a bunch of Christian homeschoolers mess with your crap?
Matt, I can only draw the conclusion that is the base level conclusion. I've never had a problem with my camera before. I get to the meeting with you and all of a sudden my camera is not recording. I didn't get a single bit of footage off of my camera from our conversation. That happened every time. I've never had to pull my battery out of my camera to get it working again. I haven't had to. I can only draw. I can only draw the conclusion that something was done to my camera. Thankfully, I had my phone.
Okay, well, I offered you all of the footage, and I have them there as witnesses. And I even have it on film, me offering you the footage. I said, I promise you all of it.
Yes, you did. You offered me footage when I didn't have a computer there. So I don't understand how I would have gotten that footage, but I also knew I had my phone. I didn't understand at the time of our conversation, Matt, that I had lost an entire segment. So if you're willing to share that second segment that I don't have, that is what you use to put answers into your questions, because I got proof of that. And I'm going to be running that video very soon. So please check that out and debunk how I'm lying when I've got the actual footage of what you did. So please, I mean, just explain yourself. If you want to be an honest person, be honest.
Well, I never twisted anything that you said. Everything that you said was what you said.
I'm going to show blatantly that what you put in your movie was a blatant lie. You would ask a question, and then you would put an answer from another part of the conversation as the answer to that question, Matt. That is not being a good, honest character. That is not being honest. That is lying.
You'd have to show me an example. You'd have to show me an example. There is no example of that because that never happened.
I'm going to tell you right now, it will be out Friday. You can check it out, and you can then come and tell me how you didn't do that, because I have actual evidence that you did, and I'm going to be releasing it on Friday.
If I might throw my 2 cents in there very quick, you already have basically the entire interview out on your channel right now, at least the segments that you have, and that clearly shows the misrepresentation. All you have to do is watch the movie and then the interview, or vice versa, and voila.
Yeah. You can find it on my channel, The Raging Atheist. It's in this section called Dancing with the Devil. It's The Raging Atheist versus Matt Powell. And yeah, it is our entire second conversation, what I have of it, because I don't have the second segment. So if you're willing to share that with me, I'd really like to have that, Matt.
I'll give it all to you, man. I don't have anything to hide.
I just don't have the second segment.
Here's what it comes down to.
In your movie.
Ronnie, here's what it comes down to. And I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I actually took it.
My real name right now, which is fine. I've used it in the past, but I do kind of go by Nakasuchi online. So you are kind of being a jerk right now.
All right, sorry, man. Not whatever you want to go by. I know you guys all got your little fantasy names.
I'm just saying. You can come on here. You can come on here, and this is Suri's channel. We shouldn't be having
fantasy names. Okay, that's fine.
But
I've never been on the internet before.
Nagasuchi, let me say this, since this is really kind of between you and I. My crew never messed with your stuff, and I just want to make it clear that I took it pretty easy on you in that discussion. I've heard rumors and it's from people in your guys' community. You know, I honestly, you guys just blatantly lie, and you know, you're making up all this crap about my stuff. Look, I'm sorry. The movie turned out, you know, somewhat well for Christianity. Therefore, you guys have to cover your back.
Hold on.
No, you misrepresented everything.
Hold on. If I may have a moment, Matt, could you identify one lie that just with me, if possible? Could you identify one lie that I have said?
Well, here's the thing. I don't watch you, Cyrus. I don't have time. I'm a working man. And the only reason that I even hear about this stuff is because I got kids that are friends of mine, and you can probably tell by the way they leave comments and stuff that they're young, and they leave comments and you know on my channel and stuff, and they'll call me and they'll say, "Hey Matt, this is going on. These people are attacking you," and it's like,
Matt,
I've got enough calls about you guys.
If that's the case, my question would be, where's
Matt,
the basis for saying there's lies?
Video before I had even finished watching it. You responded to it immediately today. You're online checking all this stuff out. So for you to pretend that you're not, it's kind of laughable.
Not to mention it is a little duplicitous, and I don't mean to misrepresent you, but it does seem a little duplicitous to say you guys are lying, or in this case it's specifically me, so that's fine. You are lying. However, in the same breath, I don't watch you. If you do not watch my content, and you don't have to, my content shit. Honestly. But if you do not watch my content, then where would you find the basis to find whether or not I am lying in my content?
Well, I'm just saying this, that, you know, it's clear that, like, every video that I've seen, I haven't watched a ton of your videos, sir.
But you haven't. That's what you said.
But here's the thing. I've seen this rate. I have seen, well, what I have seen. You know, maybe not necessarily you, but I've seen other atheists, and you know, they just make up these crazy, wild accusations, like, you know, they think I'm a homo. You know, and they just make up these wild claims.
I don't think silly. We don't think you're a homo, Matt. We make fun of you for being a homophobic. There's a difference. You know, we pick on you for being a homo because you're a homophobic. There's a difference. And that word, I hate that word. You made me use a word I hate using. But that's why people do that, Matt. Is because you're so homophobic, it's laughable. I mean, that's why.
I will say that at least for my part, I'm not going to say that Matt is a sexuality that he does not himself say, just because I know that
I know what Matt is besides Matt himself. You know?
Yeah, and so I'm not going to label him as anything that he doesn't label himself. For instance, I'm not going to, as an example, say that he's not a true Christian if he deems himself to be a true Christian. That's not my place to. Whatever title he has for himself is his own title, and I'm going to respect that as best as I'm able to. But I will say that since you have watched a little bit of my content, even if it's only an episode or two, and that's fine. Like I said, especially since now that I've released videos daily, I don't expect everybody to keep up with all my content. There's no reason that I would expect that of anybody, especially somebody who has to work multiple hours a week. But in any of those videos that you have seen, is there a lie that I have uttered? And if you can't remember what it is, if you think that there is one and you can't remember it, that's fine. I can understand that. My memory's horrible. But is there one that you can remember, so that just as I'm allowing you to hop on my channel to address your grievances with Nagatsuchi, is there any grievance you have with me, or any lie that I've said, that I can then address?
Sure. Sure. So basically, well, there's guys on your panel like this atheist rationale dude, who, you know, I have no interest in making response videos. I don't have time to make a ton of response videos, but let me say this. The atheist rationale was just using the same lies that Nagatsuchi was using about my camera crew messing with his crap. That's stuff that they would never do. It's not hard to figure out.
Well,
that is a blatant lie.
Well, no, hold on. I've got something. But I'll let you go, atheist, because he did single you out there, but I have something to say right after you.
Yeah, I was just going to point out that he deflected from Cyrus. Instead of answering his question, he...
Yeah. No, I did not deflect. I was stating an obvious lie. I was stating an obvious lie. That's not deflecting. That's a lie from his panel on his channel. That's what he asked.
But I thought it was Arin's panel. I thought it was Arin's panel.
I'm not making claims.
Matt, answer me this question. Settle down. During our conversation, did I have problems with my camera?
Yeah, you did.
Yes, I did. Now, so how did I lie? Now, if you watch all of my accusations or whatever, I say that there's no way for me to know because I would be talking to you, but I would turn to talk to you and then my camera would malfunction. So I have to assume that somebody was doing something to it. I never lied. But I just said, let's say that it didn't happen, that just my camera was messed up. The fact that you didn't represent me honestly, Matt, in your movie. So take away all of that. I didn't lie because my camera, it messed up. So you can say that your people didn't do it all you want. And I can say that logically I have to conclude that they did because it hasn't done it since. But all right, let's take away that. What other lie have I told? Did I reach out to you, Matt, about being in your movie?
You reached out and you wanted to do it. You reached out. You begged me to debate you.
Asking me to be in your movie.
You begged me to debate you. Dude, you put out several videos begging me to debate you, and I finally took you up on it.
That I begged you to be in your movie. Did that happen?
Not in the movie. I said to debate. There's a difference.
In that video, I just put a video out where you said I begged you to be in your movie. And then
That's not what I said.
To debate me for your movie. I have it plain as day. It's your words, Matt. It's your words.
Go ahead and try putting stuff together, but it's not there. There's nothing to put together there. You're just throwing out wild accusations.
You already saw it. You responded to it.
You guys are insane, man. You guys are insane.
You're playing out where you're lying.
I never lie. You guys are the liars. You guys are just making up crap.
So actually, wait a minute. There is one.
That was a lie, and you don't want to admit to it.
Hold on. There is, if I may, there is one point. Because I just remembered this. Again, this goes back to my horrible memory. There is a point you made in your video, Matt, that was directly addressed to me, and I would like to address that if possible. So I espoused a hypothetical for a moment, where I said that I could. What was the word that I used?
Grant.
It was a granting the premise type of ordeal, but I can't remember exactly what it was. But it was something about I could grant that the universe came from a first cause that was a god or anything like that, and it still doesn't necessarily get me to your god. And there was something that you said in your video specifically about that, saying that I admitted that would have to be the case. I'd like to point out that granting a premise is not an admittance. It's granting a premise for sake of conversation. It's also called engaging a hypothetical, and engaging a hypothetical is also not the same thing as admitting any one thing. You could engage a hypothetical where you're homosexual for a second. That's not you. That's not you being one. That's you engaging a hypothetical as if you were one for a minute. That's not the same thing.
Exactly.
Well, Cyrus, you made it out like you actually granted the whole premise, as in you believe.
Granting a premise is not believing.
Well, okay. Let me ask you this then. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this first. What is the most poorly designed video game that you guys can think of?
E.T. for the Atari 2600.
Yes.
Okay. Could E.T. Let me ask you this. Could E.T. have designed itself?
No.
Is E.T.
without a mind behind it?
No, but you can't just appeal to an argument from infinite regress.
Let me ask you this. You agree that it can't design itself. Let me ask you this. Richard Dawkins said in his book on page 116, The Blind Watchmaker, anybody can pick it up, and I quote, he said, the simplest life, not evolved life, but the simplest life has the amount of specified complexity in it of over 1,000 complete sets of encyclopedias. That's more complex than that video game. So to say, well, Centipede or whatever video game you just mentioned, ETA or whatever, demands a designer, but not the simplest cell, that's insane.
No, it's not insane, because there's a difference between inorganic silicone and organic carbon.
Exactly.
Your argument is laughable, man.
And not only to mention that,
you know what's laughable? You know what's laughable to me?
Well, hold on, no, let me say something. The thing is the computer game, or whatever game, the game itself is not organic materials that reproduce. Whereas life itself is. And that's a big distinction, because in order for the ET game to become into existence, there has to be something. Whereas with life itself, with cells that can replicate themselves, it's not the case.
Yeah, silicon does not self-replicate the same way.
So you've just admitted to me that well, what if the video game could self-replicate? Wouldn't that mean that it would be more of a design?
If it could, it would be made of a different type of matter.
And the thing is what if my uncle was my aunt? I mean, what ifs don't do anything for the conversation at hand. You can sit there and say, what if, but it doesn't.
Well, I'm just stating facts. And
no, you're not.
In our debate,
you are just saying, what if? That is not a fact.
A what if scenario is a what if scenario is a fact in the same sense that granting the premise is espousing an idea. They're completely non-synchronous. They're not the same thing.
What's up, Ocean? By the way, nice to meet you.
Well, I wish I had more time to talk to you guys. Believe me, I would talk here all day, but I got to get back to work. I got some things I got to do. But you know what? I do want to wish you all a good day. I don't hate any of you. I will say this. I think you guys are insane, but you know what? The feeling's probably mutual. So that's all I got to say, guys.
Can you, why do you think that, Matt?
Why do I think what?
That most of the people in here are insane.
Because of the fact that you guys believe in abiogenesis. One time I was in a debate.
No, we don't.
Actually, I was just in a debate the other.
Well,
abiogenesis.
I want to see what.
I was in a debate the other day.
Generation.
On the Canadian.
Dude.
Let him. Well, let's let Matt speak.
I'm just making it clear that I was in a debate 2 days ago, and the atheist said, "Well, I can't believe you have enough faith to believe the resurrection. That's just crazy." Well, here's the thing. You guys as atheists believe that every life form in the world came to life or resurrected out of non-existence.
Well, not necessarily.
So what takes more faith?
Not necessarily, and one of the people in this panel isn't an atheist.
Yeah, but I just got here, in fairness.
That's fair. It's fair.
But, yeah, Matt, for clarification, I'm not an atheist, but, I'm a little confused about why you would then say that the atheists are insane for believing that life can come out, like they can be resurrected out of nothing, when you equally also seem to believe in resurrection from the dead at the same time, or that something can come from nothing as long as God speaks it, or something like that.
Well, what you're doing is you're admitting to me that the idea is insane and it's a miracle. And Stephen Hawking said, and I quote, he said, "We're a mathematical impossibility." So if we're a mathematical impossibility, that is a miracle by definition.
I'm not
guys,
saying
I have to go. Hey, I'd be glad to take any of you guys and talk to you guys in a discussion. If you guys ever want to have a discussion, reach out to me, reach out to Ian, reach out to one of my guys, and we'll have a discussion. I'm more than happy to.
I just think
and I'll give any explanation about the film.
Hey, Matt.
As to why you're just
we're not gay.
Matt, I want to thank you for clarifying that I didn't beg you to be in your movie.
Well, I didn't say that. You did beg me.
No,
you put out videos begging me to do a debate with you.
I asked you for a debate. I didn't beg you to be in your movie.
Well, it just turned out that you happened to be in the movie, and I warned you ahead of time.
But I didn't.
I warned you. I said you realize.
I didn't beg. I called you out in a video to debate. I didn't beg you in your movie like you claimed, right?
Well, I'm not going to just go debate somebody for no reason. And it's clear who won that debate by the admission of your own people.
Is that an admittance that the conversation was about the movie, but a debate instead?
What was that?
Well, what Raging Atheist is saying is that the conversation was about a debate and not about him begging you to be in your movie. Your response seems to agree.
Right. I never said he begged me to be in the movie. I didn't mention the movie.
I thought you just said that a second ago.
All right. No, so Matt, you can go on your own channel, or you can go on my channel and watch the video that I uploaded today where you specifically said that I begged you to be in your movie.
No, I said that you begged me for debate, and I said that I was coming out with a movie, and so therefore I figured it would be beneficial for the movie.
We'll let the viewers decide, Matt. So for any of the viewers, you guys can go and watch his video on his channel, or you can go to my channel and watch his words.
Please do.
Where he says
Please do.
And we'll let them decide.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Later.
He didn't stay in for long enough for me to tell him that I believe in Thor.
So one thing I want to address, because I tried to address it while he was here, but he left, was the fact that he said that these guys were all homeschooled Christian boys. They wouldn't do something like that.
That has not.
Well,
that's a non sequitur if I've ever heard one.
Exactly, because I mean, if you look at the Ian Fisher video that he did, where he sits there and paints all these people as if the only issue we have with Matt Powell is the fact that he's a young preacher, when that was not the case. When all the people that he clipped from never once said anything about his age being an issue, but rather that they're just explaining who he is, that he is a young pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there is dishonesty right there. And and the thing is not only did Ian Fisher make this video and upload it to YouTube, Matt even took the video and put it in one of his own videos where he
edited it more when he did so. When he put it on his channel, Matt edited it a little more so that, for instance, the portions where me and Bionic Dance said what our actual grievances were with Matt, he clipped those out to make it sound like it was a completely different argument. Now, whether he clipped those out or Ian clipped those out and sent them to him, I don't know, so I don't want to misrepresent his side of things there. But the point is that there are two videos that look the same on the surface, but as soon as you actually look at the videos on the respective channels, they are different, and the fact that they're different does bother me a little bit.
Yeah, and like I said, they're both
different message.
Yeah.
Do what?
They're subtle editing changes.
Oh yeah, but the thing is that right there shows dishonesty, and if I'm not going to go into the slippery slope fallacy, but if one can do that, and not understand that that in itself is dishonest, one could most definitely mess with someone's computer or their camera and not see how it's dishonest as well.
Like I said, and I've said it from the very beginning, I didn't see them do anything to my camera, but I have to conclude that it never malfunctioned before, it hasn't malfunctioned since, that they were doing something to the camera at the time. I mean, it's a logical conclusion, and I put that in my video. So for him to say that I didn't say that, I mean, is just dishonesty. And like I said, I mean, he clearly says that I beg him to be in this movie.
Is that... Oh, wait, hold on. Is that a Christian of the Gaps argument?
That's horrible.
Dude, Nakasuchi, you should really make a video showing those text messages and stuff. I know you were against the idea, but if you really want to show people...
Now I'm going to have to. I told him if he didn't stop lying that I'd have to do it. And now he's come up. I mean, I got to do it now. I got to release everything I got.
I'm excited.
Something that I thought was interesting was his appeal to insanity, where but like it was odd that he was saying that well, that means you guys admit that you're insane because you believe in abiogenesis. But if he's that is like a sword with two very distinct edges that he's stabbing himself with in the process, because he's in making that accusation, he is admitting that he himself, or that he's not admitting that he's insane, but he's calling himself insane in the process.
Well, that's like the thing that I pointed out early in the video is there's this weird argument that a lot of them do where they undermine their own position just to knock out their opponents.
Right, but don't you, if you just knock all the Legos off the table, what conversation are you, what are you defending at that point? I think that in order to defend Christianity, you have to have Legos on the table. And if he's knocking everything off and being no one can play,
I think
he's himself there. The atheist benefit.
I think the most telling thing about this whole Matt Powell calling in thing is, yeah, he did the whole "you guys are insane" and "you guys are liars," but what he was most upset about was that somebody thinks he's gay.
There is the thing about you don't press too much, and the accusation wound up being at least possibly true in the case of people like Haggard. Maybe he's bi, but with Ted Haggard, there was that little bit of information that came out about his sexuality. So, and you get the recurring story. Like, it's a tired trope at this point that the guy who speaks too hard against homosexuality is kind of gay. So, does that apply to Matt Powell? I don't know. Maybe it's a homosexuality of the gaps argument. But who knows? Like, maybe it does seem odd when somebody is like so passionately against homosexuality, because people are usually really passionate against things that affect them in some way.
Yeah. It's why does this bother you so much?
Maybe it affects him in a way that isn't personal. Like, it's possible that it affects him in a way that isn't personal. Like, maybe there's like someone he knows and cares about or something like that he believes is going to hell because of their homosexuality or whatever. But it maybe not. Maybe it is him. I don't know.
I will say that the thing that I am upset about is that we didn't get Ian. Like, I'm happy we got Matt.
I wanted to hear what Ian had to say. I think I remember him. I think he was the guy wearing sunglasses the whole conversation. Never took them off once. I mean, it was we were inside, dude.
Right. I'm gonna have to go for a little bit here. The thing I told you earlier, gotta put my cat in the carrier and stuff, and I'll be right back.
Understandable. Well, we can continue with the movie while you're doing that. We're an hour and 15 minutes in. We've probably got another good 15 minutes we can go if everybody else is okay with that.
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Ocean, what about you? What do you want to do?
I mean, I can chill out for a little bit. Sure. It's being brought up in the chat, like maybe he has a family member that's gay, which is possible. I'm just interested in like how it's affecting him so much that he's this passionate about it, because he's only this passionate about it because it's affecting him in some way.
Yeah. Also, there was somebody in the chat who said something to me earlier. I believe it was Javier Jara. I don't know which J's are silent there, but I'll assume those are the right ones. Said, "Hey, Cirrus, why didn't you present the video to him? Who is him and which video? And when you can answer those, let me know."
That's what I want to see, because single-celled organisms are extremely complicated.
One DNA molecule, just one, is probably more complicated and contains more information than Encyclopedia Britannica. It's just one strand of DNA.
Okay.
If you want to believe that happened by chance, you enjoy yourself, but you're a fool to believe such a thing.
But, okay, Hovind, you believe the Earth is 6,000 years old with no data.
We could put the whole science department of ASU and all these science teachers from all over the school system, we could put them all in a laboratory. We could bring them all of the most high-tech instruments in the world. We could bring them every chemical, every element, every possible substance to work with, and say, create something that's alive! And guess what they couldn't do? They couldn't do it. They could not create anything that's alive. Nothing, not even the simplest thing that's alive. They can create nothing. But we're supposed to believe.
So I'm just going to point out the problem I have with this. Yeah. I could easily say 100 years ago, or say 300 or 400 years ago rather. I want you to have somebody get this person who you know is going to get smallpox, and you know that they're going to die from smallpox, and you can get all the smartest scientists in the world, and you could put them in a lab, and you could have them try to eradicate smallpox or measles, and they couldn't. That means it's impossible. Except a few 50 years after that, we got vaccines. You could do this with any. You could do this with any scientific discovery. Say we asked scientists even a year before this became a thing. And asked them to do it, and they couldn't do it. It doesn't matter that they couldn't do it then, and we can't do it now. I'm not essentially arguing science at the gaps. I'm not trying to do something like that.
I was going to say it.
It's not that I'm trying to make an argument like that, but it is showing that it's. I think that it's a very poor method of thinking. It's the same reason why I don't consider myself a hard atheist for all gods. I can't, because what would happen the day that a god was demonstrated to be real in any sense of the word? At that point, I would have egg on my face because I said that it wasn't possible. There are certain gods that are logically inconsistent that I deem not possible, like Yahweh, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case for all gods. In fact, I have a hypothetical where two gods created the universe and then destroyed themselves, and so atheism still holds after that point. there's enough different scenarios that could happen that simply saying that, oh, these people couldn't create life in a lab, it just seems nonsensical to me.
Yeah, well, and not only that, but how does he know it's true? Like, I want to question, for one, his science acumen, saying is true. But like, let's say that what he's saying is true right now. Who's to say that there's not a scientist that has been working up for the last 5 years that just hasn't released their findings yet, and they've created life 1,000 times over? This is the things that they speak in absolutes when there is no absolutes there. You don't know this. You're just saying something. You're speaking out of your ass.
I want to say as well that I'm trying to think about what separates life from not life. And there's a few of the aspects of the definition that we have managed to reproduce with computers.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you wanted to say that it's something that reproduces with variation, you can design a program that will make something that reproduces with variation. And you can even make that manifest in physicality, where you have like a little critter that manages to reproduce itself in some way, even if it's just by building other copies of itself or variation copies of itself. The other thing is that we are working towards artificial intelligence, as much as science fiction has warned us not to do that. We do seem to be moving in that direction. At which point, if you have like a computer that sits there and is sentient, what is the difference between that and creating life?
And that brings you into a whole lot of philosophical, moral issues as well, because at which point, what rights do you grant to that life?
Well, yeah, but that's a separate question. This guy's trying to say, well, you could put all this stuff in front of scientists and they wouldn't be able to make life. And I was like, oh, we're kind of working on it and we're making progress. So, like,
not to mention, cloning is illegal now, but I mean, sure, we're using a host body, but scientists are creating life. I mean, they created Dolly. It wasn't like, Dolly was cloned. They just used a host.
I don't think that establishes the same kind of thing because we didn't. The scientists didn't design the DNA strand, for example, and so on. That was used to make. It was a copy of something.
Yeah, from what I understand,
it's basically saying that I created a book by using a Xerox machine. That's not. I don't think that's the same thing.
Yeah, you're right about that.
But I think that creating, if you've ever seen the movie Ex Machina, I think that would be the creation of life. If you have like artificial intelligence that passes the Turing test, that's where we start to ask questions about whether or not we've done that, especially if that life is able to reproduce with variation.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's weird to me whenever you've got somebody like Matt Powell who hops in and goes, well, all of you believe in abiogenesis. Well, no, I don't believe in abiogenesis because it's not a scientific theory. It's still in the hypothesis stage. It's still in the replicatability stage.
I never even heard of it until Matt Powell.
Abiogenesis is a department that is being studied, and they've managed to bring up, I think it's 11 different amino acids out of that, essentially a rock and lightning solution, for lack of a better terminology for it.
I'm no expert on this stuff, but I believe even R and Ra has mentioned a study where they've gotten RNA to self-replicate.
I don't know if that's necessary. I don't know if that's the case because I haven't seen the video, so I'll have to check into that. But it's very weird to me, especially when I have several videos when I bring up abiogenesis. I always clarify afterwards, it's not a theory. It's not a scientifically accepted theory.
It's only in hypothesis, but it does have some evidence supporting it. But it's a
good working model.
It's not proven fact yet.
And the thing is with abiogenesis is that it is the most the best working model that we have right now.
It's not a model, though. This is part of my frustration with this part of the conversation, is that abiogenesis, when it comes right down to it, is essentially stating the assumption that it's a natural process. We have some clues about what the parts of that natural process is, but we don't know what the beginning point of it is. It's very similar to the Big Bang. But it's also, there's the potential that what the beginning process of it is something that wasn't preserved. So the accessibility to whatever natural process that was is inaccessible, assuming
it's been removed from
process.
that point.
Right. So it's inaccessible.
Somebody in the comments
Well, hold on.
Unless we reproduce it.
Somebody in the comments.
Oh, go ahead.
Somebody in the comments wrote out the name of the article that Aaron Robb mentions with the RNA self-replicating. It's synthesis of activated. I'm really bad at reading. Pyrimidine. It went up. 1 sec. Let me scroll. I apologize. Ribonucleotides in prebiotically possible conditions.
Okay. And then Darth Killer also mentioned in the chat as well that there's multiple hypotheses on abiogenesis and multiple possible mechanisms, with some scientists defending some and some scientists defending others. And that's actually the reason why it's not a theory yet. Like with the Big Bang, we have a mathematical calculation that breaks down only as you get to t equals 0. That's why something like that is okay as a theory. Not to mention we've got redshift and other things like that give us clues into where the origin point was, or even that there was an origin point.
And we have some clues with abiogenesis, but it's very like the reaching the conclusions on abiogenesis is very similar to reaching the questions of like with human behavior in a prehistory situation, where there's a lot of clues, but there's with each clue you seem to just unveil more questions because you're looking at a very specific event that took place. So abiogenesis, I think, and this might be a weird way of stating it, but the challenges with it are way more similar to the challenges associated with demonstrating historical fact than it is with scientific fact. It just is a weird crossover in that you're looking through something that's preserved in a historical setting to try and extrapolate a scientific idea.
To me, the thing is that that due to a lot of the findings that we have found throughout the fossil record, we can, in other aspects of even just watching the planet, certain planets in distant galaxies form and whatnot, we know how primordial Earth was, as far as it going to the atmospheric conditions and all of these other sorts of things. And with just that knowledge alone, you can sit there and use it and make predictions and make understandings about how primordial Earth was.
Right. So let me draw an analogy, because I think that we're saying very similar things. We're just saying them differently. Shoot, my phone is going off.
I was about to say, are you playing Ocarina of Time while we're doing this?
No, that's my text message notification. So, okay, let's take, for example, and I'll try to make this quick, the finding of fallacies in history, where there's a lot of stone penises all around,
I know,
right?
I know this, the fertility cult thing.
Yes. Is it a fertility cult? Is there a point where everybody was worshiping dick, or are these just dildos? Right? So there's several different. The idea that it's a fertility cult and the idea that these are dildos would produce the same evidence of there being stone penises. In the same sense, when you go back and look at abiogenesis, you're not looking for. You can find all the specifics about what was there, but when discussing like a particular event that took place, there's as with history in trying to extrapolate particular events, there are multiple ways that particular events could have come about in order to build certain mechanisms. Now, with it seems, so far anyway, that the particular event is inaccessible. It may be that some of the mechanisms about the event, what allowed the event to take place, could be accessible. So, there's a lot of wiggle room in the discussion there. My phone is going off like crazy. I apologize. But anyway, I could probably make that point in a little bit finer of a way, but I think that I've gotten the general gist of my point across.
Yeah, I mean, this can definitely be a conversation that you and I can have, much like the other one that we were having on Twitter, just in Discord.
Which were really polite to each other, and I appreciate that.
Yes. For those who don't know, before I came on, me and Ocean were having a very, very polite conversation about the whole entire God thing, and we were just very polite towards each other, going back and forth.
I think that's kind of generally what happens when we have conversations with Ocean, because like me and Ocean started out our friendship as a debate, and it ended up from there. So let us see. We're still on Anderson, and I'm tired of seeing his dumb face. So let's see if we can't at least get to a different scene.
His screaming voice is wonderful.
Should throw him down some heavy metal track in the background. Just have
I don't know. I can do the pig noise. What is it? The heavy metal grunting. I used to do that in like high school and shit.
That hurts your throat when you do that.
Oh
shit.
yeah, there's a reason why I stopped. One, because it was hurting my throat, and the other because it's cringy.
Yeah, it can be pretty terrible. The grindcore is kind of like the big thing in Bakersfield right now. All my old bandmates are doing it.
Then it just came to life by
Naruto-based thing going on.
Oh, that sounds ultimately cringy.
And
Excellent.
then you also have to believe that it slowly evolved to the point where it became actually a human being as smart as we are.
You know, I shouldn't say it, but I'm just going to say it. I don't think Steven Anderson is the person who should be saying a human being as smart as we are. I think he's the last person who should be saying it.
I don't know. I think that if we start doing intelligent design, if we make a human, if we make a or intelligent design with artificial intelligence, if we do artificial intelligence and we create something and it winds up being as smart as Steven Anderson in that it also says things like Steven Anderson does, I think that we've failed. We just demonstrated that artificial intelligence is impossible and we need to destroy all research, burn the internet to the ground, and just stop all human life.
Yeah, I agree. It's like I made a point that the mere fact that science falsely so-called exists on the internet is an argument for deleting the internet.
Okay, but if you don't believe it, you're just an idiot, you know. You religious bumpkin. But that's what they think.
Oh, bumpkin.
But professing them.
Goku was a bumpkin.
I didn't think about this. You notice how they were just showing kids in a public school, right?
Yes, and they're all homeschooled.
Yeah, they're also at the same time telling you that what you're learning at school is wrong. It's very subtle editing trick there.
Oh yeah, learning is bad, okay?
Yeah.
That's why we bring up Bill Nye, who just stomped Ken Ham, you know.
I fucking love that debate. That was
Themselves
so
to
good.
be wise, they became fools. You'd have to be an idiot. You say, well, how dare you call it? The Bible says they're a fool.
So,
part of the science.
You can hear the yeses from the congregation in the background.
Sorry, so you're aware of what confirmation bias is, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, let's look at the difference, like what his argument is essentially. And this is, I mean, it's not surprising because this is like the basis of most Christian arguments. And this works in churches where it's, we have the authority, argument from authority. Here's our conclusion that is this wacky doodle thing, creationism. And so they're just, what I really want, what I think would be interesting, actually, I want to see a Matt Powell commentary on the inspiring philosophy versus Kent Hovind debate, given that there were two Christians going at each other there.
Yeah, but you know what he's going to say, right? He's going to say.
Well, I mean, he's going to agree with Hovind, but
he's going to say that IP wasn't a true Christian.
Oh, yeah, all right. But is there going to be an argument that comes from him that isn't that?
Well, it's going to be like when it's going to be a lot like the same thing that happened here when I said, Matt, so you said that I have a bunch of lies. Could you please point out one point where I lie? I don't watch your channel. Okay, cool. Oh, well, I've watched some of your videos. Okay, cool. Then in those videos that you have watched, now that we're backtracking to you have watched some of my videos, in those videos that you have watched, that you've commented on, by the way, what lies have I said in those videos? Oh, well, you have atheist rationale on, and...
The fuck?
What?
All right, so the guy isn't very good at logical progression. Cool.
No, he's not.
Okay. But no, I like what I'm seeing so far in this video for like the 15. I guess it's been I've seen probably about 5 to 10 minutes of it. It seems to be argument from authority. Bible is our authority. Here's what the Bible says. This is true, and that's going to get nodding heads in a lot of these churches. So, you know, that's their logical progression. It's valid, but the premises are stupid.
Valid, not sound. Okay, now that we're looking at Matt's maybe homo face, not sure. Again, I don't want to call him that. Let's go. I don't want to call him that because one, it's only a pejorative to him, and it's not a pejorative.
Well, here's the thing. It perhaps his gay face, definitely his bigot face.
Yes.
Method is coming up with an observation. It says to make an observation. Well, how are we supposed to observe this evolution, which has taken place over billions of years?
We've actually got certain animals that only live for like a couple of days per generation, and we've observed evolution in those. We also observe evolution in the virus that causes the common cold. It's why we can't fight the virus that causes the common cold. It evolves faster than our medicine does. So stop being wrong.
Not possible.
See, there are 6 different levels or stages to evolution.
What?
First is cosmic evolution. That's
No! Stop! Stop it!
Stop!
Stop it! That's not how it works.
We're not going to be able to get through an entire scene, are we?
No.
Like, how long has this been going? I don't even know.
This is episode 5, and we're 44 minutes into the video.
There's 5 episodes. I thought this was a movie. This is one.
We're episode 5 of my series.
Oh.
We're on minute 46 of his movie.
How many minutes do you go through per episode usually?
Sometimes 5. The record is like 13.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think you might be getting close to the end because like the last half an hour is just them, sermons. Yeah, it's not the movie.
Well, I'm going to be interested in that. Let's be fair.
I'm interested in that as well.
That's where I'm going to want to be here.
I haven't seen like the last 15 minutes. Once I got to the Hovind lectures, I was just like,
yeah.
Is that what the next bit is here, Raging Atheist? Is that we're just going to see Hovind making stupid things? Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
right after the end credits, it's nothing but Hovind lectures for like maybe 15 minutes and then something I don't know about.
I'm curious. We're at 46 minutes 25 seconds.
Yeah.
Where's our? So our credits start.
The credits. Oh wow.
The credits seem to start at the minute 4 mark. So 15 minutes until the credits.
Wait. Was that Lee Strobel?
What?
I don't know who that is.
Go back or go. Let's see here. Right, the last thing you see before it cuts to the credits.
Let's see.
That dude. Wait, go back. That dude.
Yeah.
Who is that?
I have no idea.
That looks like Lee Strobel.
Well, let me Google Lee Strobel.
We'll see when we get there. I'm fairly
He's
certain.
the guy who did the Case for Christ.
Yeah, I know who he is, but no, that's not Lee Strobel.
Oh, it's not him? Okay.
No,
for a second I thought it was. I was like, what?
I say this as a bald man, but Lee Strobel's got a fuller head of hair.
You can probably tell that this last little bit's just going to be appeal to emotion.
You mean like the beginning of the movie where they said that evolution was the cause of the Columbine shootings?
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah, no, that's the beginning. The beginning of the video is 10. The beginning of the movie is 10 minutes of linking the theory of evolution, the teaching of the theory of evolution, to school shootings, the rise of school shootings, and Columbine.
You might want to use words like schmool schmooter because apparently YouTube is taking down anybody that uses that.
I don't give a shit if a video gets demonetized because I was being honest. Fuck my channel.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, but like I understand that this is my job and this is how I make my living and this is my thing. But if I'm being honest and in my honesty I get demonetized because I'm being honest, then fuck me, I'm fine with that.
I'm not talking about demonetization. Rusty Cage. I'm kind of a fan of Rusty Cage and Monkey Jones. I know they're a little weird, but I just like their jokes.
Mm-hmm.
But fucking Monkey Jones got 2 channels taken off just because he talked about the what was that kid named? The king of the incel.
While it might be true.
Catfish.
While it might be while that might be
about Catfish King. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say while that might be true.
It took me a second to remember who he was.
Remember that the first episode we did in this series has not been taken down, and it's all about that topic.
Oh yeah, good point.
It was demonetized though. It is the only episode in the series to be demonetized. And I have sent it in for manual review, and they forced the demonetization to go through. So it has been demonetized. So I'm very well aware that will happen.
That's hot.
I'm probably being a little too cautious here, but
remember, At the end of the day, if it hurts any channel, it hurts mine, and I'm not worried, so it's okay.
I'm going to hate myself for saying this, but let's listen to Hovind.
I'm going to sound clip that.
The origin of time, space, matter. They answer that with the Big Bang, which is extremely stupid. Then there'd have to be chemical evolution, because the Big Bang would produce hydrogen or helium or lithium or deuterium, but what about gold, silver, platinum? How do you get that out of hydrogen gas?
All heavy elements. Oh my fucking.
See, I see the Big Bang is when the god and the goddess united to make the universe.
So the god just decided that he came the heavy elements. How many sperm are there when you come? That's how many heavy elements there are. But we haven't found that many.
Have you? This reminds me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where they were talking about there was a civilization that believed that the universe was the sneeze from a giant like grasshopper like entity. Jeez. And that the end of the universe was the coming of the great white handkerchief.
Oh jeez.
So you have to have chemical evolution. Then they'll.
What was that, Russ?
Thanks for
I was just saying I was just saying that I don't like how he can sit there and say that the Big Bang is stupid when there's so much evidence for it.
I mean, I think the thing to note with that is that he said it was wildly stupid, but he didn't say anything else as far as what the reason is. But I guess he might be getting into that right now. Let's see what he says.
Say, well, that happens in stars under great pressure. Okay, well, then now you got a problem with stellar evolution. Nobody's ever seen a star form. Never. We've seen it blow up. Never see one form. But there's a lot of stars out there. 76 trillion is the latest estimate.
Stop, because that is a complete utter lie.
Yeah,
Yes, we've seen both stars and planets form.
We've seen stars form, and we've also seen the aftermath of them being gone. We know what the end result of a star being destroyed is. We've seen that. We see the beginning result of a star being formed. This is not. Thank you, Hubble. This is all
not
kinds
only that,
of
but we've
stupids.
seen
Kepler,
planets.
Was it Kepler that saw the star forms?
I think that Kepler saw planets form, but I think that I want to say that both of them have aided in that, Kepler and Hubble.
Well, the planet being formed thing, I think we've just recently seen. We've seen several instances of stars being born, but as far as planet formation, I think I think there might have been a time when they might have seen it, but as far as I can tell, we've recently discovered and watched a planet being formed.
Yeah,
I want to know more information on that if you want to link it to me, actually, because
I have to look through my resources, but I will definitely find it.
From what I know about Kepler's how it observes exoplanets, it's difficult for me to imagine how it would see a planet forming, unless there's like, I'd want to know like how that's.
I saw the article first on I Fucking Love Science, and then Ken Ham made a little video about the baby planet formation, and then
that's great.
I actually have a response video on my channel to that.
That's a good source, Ken Ham. Okay.
Yeah, Ken Ham is the best sources. He knows all the big words.
He knows the best words.
Good.
His words are phenomenal. Okay.
Then you'd have to have organic evolution. Life has to get started somewhere, somehow, from non-living material.
Wait a minute.
Right, we just had this conversation.
Wait a fucking minute. So
yes, we did.
Steven Anderson, earlier in this movie, said what evolution actually is: the diversification of species. It was the first time he said an honest fucking word. Kent Hovind now says that evolution is these 6 things.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's using it liberally, obviously, right?
Yeah.
You mean disingenuously? That's what it is here.
I would say unscientific, perhaps.
The word evolution.
Yeah, he's not. Whenever he's using evolution, he is just trying to use the term as change over time.
He's
I wonder if he would refer to somebody aging as evolution, because that's the same. Like, with the kind of definition that he's using, he seems to be using it as things changing over time rather than diversification of life. So, what is is there an evolution from Kent Hovind as a baby to Kent Hovind as an adult? To Kent Hovind as an
yeah, it's called injecting copious amounts of stupid.
Well, I mean, okay. I'm just talking about, like, he appears differently than he did when he was a child.
We call that withering evolution.
Is that evolution? Because it seems like his definition would include something like that.
It's so
we would then get Hovind to say. Well, the trick with that is you would then be able to say that Kent Hovind said evolution is true.
We have a. I know that I've pronounced this correctly once before.
Uh-oh.
Edwulf Sigurtha? Sigurta. Planet formation takes place over millions of years. We have observed different stages, but no actual formation. So it would be the same thing as how we've observed the evolution of an evolution of an eye. Actually, is another way, where we have the different stages that an eye would go through, but we don't have an eye going from sees particulate matter as just grayscale blob to can see in colors and has functioning cones.
The one that's been recently, it was the very first stages of the forming part where the gases are coming together.
Kent,
and I think that hasn't been seen before.
Kent,
this kind of
please serenade me.
These cave species that kind of end up being secluded in cave systems for thousands of years that have absolutely no light. Some of these creatures had eyes at some point in their evolutionary timeline, but being trapped in this cave for so long, they only have vestigial remnants of eyes. Sometimes they'll have the eye sockets, but no actual eyes there.
So a project that I want to do, if we ever create the time machine, would be to, speaking of the eye, take a mantis shrimp and put it inside of a time machine and kick it back to the Precambrian era. And just see how different things get.
Oh, God, I can see it now. I can see it now. Ocean's the type of guy that will take a species from today and take it to the Precambrian era just to fuck with people from now. They'd be like, well, look, this beaver was there all the way from the beginning.
Can I just say...
Here's the thing, though, is that if I take a mantis shrimp and I put it in a time machine and chuck it back to the Precambrian era, you won't be able to see what I'm talking about because there are so many other ways to see things that mantis shrimps put forward. So,
can I say something, Ocean? First of all,
cool.
I understand that. What if you were a D&D character? What would you consider yourself? Chaotic good?
Actually, I'm playing as neutral good in a D&D campaign right now. I'm a this is going to go sidetrack. I'm a paladin that worships the god of death that got stuck in a portal to North Georgia and had to build a portal back to the D&D universe by building a bunch of pickup trucks into a portal. And he picked up a redneck accent while he was there. So now he's back and he's trying to, because I had to take a break from a campaign for a little while. So my character changed when I came back. And the DM gave me a couple of levels, but he said you have to come up with a story where you were, and this is what I gave him. He was like, "Sure."
I mean, if it
now I'm
helps,
a redneck crazy, but I do neutral good for the most part. But
I'm saying what you would consider what I'm saying what you would consider yourself, not your character.
Oh, if I was a character, I think that it hovers between neutral good and chaotic good.
Okay, I figured as much. So, the reason I said that is that have you read The Sound of Thunder?
I have not.
Okay. So, also, Darth Killer. No, a paladin worshiping the god of death is only a death knight in World of Warcraft. In whatchamacallit, in D&D, if you're worshiping the god of death, all that means is it changes how you have to RP. And it changes what spells you might have access to.
The way that it changes how I RP is that the paladin that I'm playing as specifically does not like necromancers because they violate the god of death's.
That's what happened with mine.
Sovereignty.
My last campaign, not the campaign I'm in right now, but the campaign I was in before. My paladin worshipped the god of death as well, and we were in an area
that.
Brickle, I think. I can't remember the
Okay,
name
cool.
of the god.
I'm going with Wee Jess because reasons.
But when we were in the campaign, the area we were in was affected by a magic, a type of magic that was making it when everybody died, they became zombies. My paladin's whole reason for being there was my god wants dead folks, and this village isn't giving him dead folks. That said, so in the Sound of Thunder, they have a time machine that goes back in time so they can hunt dinosaurs, but they can only hunt dinosaurs that were about to die anyway. In the story of the Sound of Thunder, though, one of the scientists accidentally steps on a butterfly, and it fucks up human evolution going forward so fucking much. So
yes,
as somebody who's read Sound of Thunder, that thing you want to do, stop.
No, this gives me more reasons, because sending a mantis shrimp back to the Precambrian era would be fucking wonderful. There would be so many new colors.
Meanwhile, Nakatsushi's just like, y'all are a bunch of nerds. I see that you're muted at the moment, Raging Atheist.
Yeah, you're muted, dude. We can't hear you because you have yourself muted.
Unmute yourself, son.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I thought I unmuted myself. No, I was saying that I play D&D quite a bit. I consider myself chaotic good.
Oh, sweet. So all of us are roughly on the same page then.
How did life get started?
Serenade me,
Organic
Kent.
evolution. Then you have to have what they call macroevolution. That's where an animal changes into a different kind of animal or plant. Nobody's ever seen that. That's imagination. It's SpongeBob stuff.
It's SpongeBob stuff.
I love that.
I love it because I know who Standing for Truth is.
Hovind, I too live in a pineapple under the sea.
SpongeBob.
Oh,
SpongeBob.
For those of you that don't know, Standing for Truth is in the NIFB camp. Steven Anderson did this thing a while back where he asked all of his little sycophants to republish his sermon videos, to establish that propaganda network. And Standing for Truth has several Steven Anderson sermons on his profile.
Woo! My favorite. Gives me more reason not to like the guy.
You can test the fact that, why are seashells on the top of Mount Everest? Why is there a Grand Canyon?
Tectonic plates, you fuckwad. It's the same reason volcanoes form. Next.
Well,
that is evidence.
Not only that, I thoroughly crushed him on this part of our conversation. If you look at the history of the world and the history of climate change in specific, 4 or 5 times throughout the history of our world, sea levels have risen. Certain parts of the world, at one point, Mount Everest was completely covered in water. It's a natural progression of how our planet heals itself. It's happened several times, 4 or 5 times since the beginning of the planet. So, I mean, all of this stuff he's talking right now has been scientifically explained. It's just a bunch of rubbish to think that a few seashells on top of a mountain.
I do want to clarify that it was tectonic forces that created the mountain, though. Two things collide.
Well, no, what you're saying is exactly right as well. I'm just saying that, there are fossilized seashells on these mountains because at one point they were covered in water, and it's happened several times.
We've got a hill over here in where I live that's very similar to that. Can't go over there because of a certain virus or bacteria infection that's common here that I can't remember the name of. But there's tons of shark tooths on it and stuff like that.
It's just something that happens. And I brought this up to him. I'm like, dude, you've had to see this information. You study this stuff. You know about these seashells, so you know the explanations for why they're there. He just chooses not to relay that.
You see, he was homeschooled, though. If he went to a public school, he'd know about plate tectonics.
Well,
but I do know the college he went to is a good college, so he should know a little
college, though, isn't it? I believe that's what it's posted on his Facebook.
It can be a Bible college,
Aquinas
but still...
Aquinas. It's in Grand Rapids. I dated a girl
that
back in
all
college.
Bible colleges are necessarily wrong, but I'm wondering if it's part of the IFB circuit, and if it is, then that's more than enough reason.
I'm not sure. I know that the college itself was always considered a good college, but it is like a Bible school. type deal.
If it uses Abeka books, they're already having problems.
Of a global flood. And a lot of times, atheists get sick of us using the same examples.
By that, I mean he hasn't seen them.
Of course he hasn't.
Why don't you address those examples? You can't prove them wrong. You get mad that we say them over and over again, but you don't really prove them wrong. You just say, well, you know, that we've heard that example before, so why are you saying that again?
It's because it's already been fucking dealt with by other people. Just my brain is bleeding.
This is why I don't bother with creationists personally, because like there is a certain kind of patience with the dumb that is required for that kind of conversation, and it usually results in banging your head against the wall over and over and over again in order to get to nothing. And sometimes people manage to do it successfully and flip a few creationists. Like Steve McRae, for example, has managed to do that for somehow. I don't exactly know how he's done it, but he has. There are people that are creationists that would say, you know what, I switched over from watching your channel. And I think that's great. I think that those people that are able to do that, like Thunderfoot and Aaron Ra and Steve McRae and those guys, I think it's wonderful that they handle it. For me, I see somebody dealing with this where like that comes forward and goes like, hey, you know, you haven't pointed out any problem with my creationist drivel, and so we're repeating it when like that's definitely just not the reality, would just send me reeling on a regular fucking basis. And so it's just not my territory. I don't want to go there. But you know, I get why people are like, you know, especially like science atheists that are knowledgeable in science get incredibly frustrated by this camp. It blows my mind that they'll hear things that are definitely debunks and then just ignore them because of their authority chain. Like book says so. And like anyway, that's
like you have the people from that camp that say that if the Bible, again, I don't say that this is Matt, but I've seen this as a thing that has been said. If the Bible said 2 + 2 = 5, then they would work their best to understand why it says that.
I can't remember who posted this a second ago. I think it was this a guy on Twitter that goes by Odin's Son, but he's an atheist. Anyway, but he said something along the lines of like, if the Bible said it was okay to you know, rape people that are taken as prisoners of war or something like that, would you be okay with it? And the response was simply yes.
Oh, yes, I saw that.
I was like, geez, man.
Like,
like
you've got the pastor that I dealt with on the Atheist Edge channel that did the, he would run around screwing everybody just because there was no God, if that was the case.
Right. It's like, well, okay, if you need religion to be your check of morality like that, then good on you, but I'm concerned.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I actually brought that very specific thing up with Matt Powell about the slavery in the Bible, and he told me straight out that it's not in the Bible, and that he was going to get me in his movie on that. In fact, that's going to be part of that moment I make Matt Powell look stupid.
It's in Deuteronomy, right?
It's in Deuteronomy.
Yeah, it's in Deuteronomy.
He claims it's not in there. So he was supposed to nail me on his movie about it, but as you guys have seen, we're almost to the end. No mention of slavery in the Bible.
Stephen Anderson.
Well, that's because it's a losing battle for Christians when you bring up the slavery in the Bible thing. We've seen SJ do it. It doesn't go well.
Well, what always happens is
they can't respond to it.
They use the same two arguments for slavery in the Bible, or one of three arguments. Argument one, it's not in there, which is what Matt did. That's just ignorance, because it's very, very much in there. If slavery wasn't in the Bible, then what the fuck was the Exodus for? Just as one example.
His justification is, if you go to war and take a prisoner, is that slavery? That was his exact words to me.
If you what? Wait, what'd you say?
If you go to war and take a prisoner.
If you go to war, if you take a prisoner of war, is that slavery? That's what that's what he's saying they did back then. That it was just war and they were taking prisoners of war. It wasn't.
It's only slavery if you enslave them afterwards.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, and that's what I said.
Having a prisoner is different than having a slave.
I mean,
then I recited the passage about how if you're not a Jewish, if you're a Jewish slave, you can be set free after 7 years. But if you're not a Jewish slave, you can't. Oh, that stuff isn't in the Bible. It's not in the Bible at all.
That was something actually that somebody corrected me on a minute ago, like today actually. That there was somebody who sent me a message about a interview that I was in which I said something along the lines of the Bible doesn't seem to promote race-based slavery, and he sent a couple of verses and everything like that saying that,
where it very clearly does.
It kind of does with the whole like difference between standards of foreigner thing versus how you treat a Jewish slave.
Because you can have a foreigner for past the 7-year mark, and you can buy a slave. Like with Jewish slaves, they had to agree to it as a form of indentured servitude.
Yeah.
But for foreigners, they were allowed to either take them as a spoil of war, or they were allowed to buy them from the lands of the heathens.
At which point I was like, correction accepted. I was like,
yeah.
But I don't.
And with the Jewish thing though, is they also had that loophole where you could
there's the marriage loophole
give
as
my
well.
family. Yeah.
Right.
It's probably isn't news to anyone, but I feel like I should point out that Steven Anderson openly condones slavery. Actually, he has a whole sermon about it where he talks pretty positively about it. Only because
so does G-Man.
G-Man actually remember when G-Man went on Atheist Experience and told Matt Dillahunty that he would willingly be Matt's slave.
Yes.
Just
before I became a YouTuber.
That interview was about 3 years.
Before I became a YouTuber, I came across that.
Every time
but before I got on YouTube, I came across that.
If
it was
today,
hilarious because I shared it.
If that happened today, Matt Dillahunty would be like 10 times more uncomfortable, I think. Like,
yeah, it's really sad to me when you hear stuff like that, because it's like, look, I'm willing to accept, because I'm friends with a bunch of apologists and theologians who are well studied in their book, and for them you usually get a response like, well, that's how things were at the time, that's not how things are now, and there's an argument to be made against that, but that's a more honest answer than either it didn't happen or no, slavery was like this. There's a video somebody sent me from The Beat, I believe, where he's talking about what the Bible says about slavery, and I have been meaning to do a video on it. And he basically goes through the whole, no, they could only have their slaves for 7 years, and I'm like, he's a black man saying this, by the way, and I hope the irony is not lost. I'm not meaning to make that sound like a racist remark, but there is a certain level of irony for slavery apologetics for a black man in America.
And he's also not the only one that does that. It's
he's not.
There's also Veckel.
Peterson.
Veckel will do this, and there's a handful of others that are just like, it's so surreal. It's like, wait a minute.
It hurts because you kind of feel sorry for them. You're like, you do realize that like this is one of the worst things that happened in America. This is one of the worst things that we did, and yet you're espousing apologetics for it.
All right.
No, don't.
It's strange, but at which point I just want to like reference them to somebody else that's like, hey, can you just come here and talk to It's such a strange situation, especially in the case of like G-Man and Veckel. I'm like, oh my goodness. But
I had a conversation with somebody about slavery and in the Bible and whatnot, and he was saying, well, you know that in the Bible they use the same word for slavery as they do with servant. And I said, yes, but there's only certain, you have to take the entire sentence into
well, hold
context.
on. They said in the Bible they use the same word. Did they mention which part of the Bible?
Well, if they own their servant and can beat them within an inch of their life.
I don't.
If it's in the Old Testament, then what Ocean said, Holt, if you can beat your servant within an inch of your life, then I'm sorry, that's a slave. Also, if we're talking about, like, if they say, well, that's how it was in the Old Testament, okay, cool. Now let's see what Greek word was used when Jesus talked about slavery in the New Testament, because he says some pretty damning things there. So it's like, which one? Are we talking Hebrew or Greek?
Doesn't speak out against it.
No, he doesn't.
One of the biggest things that he was going on about. One of the biggest things he was going on about was, he goes, how do you know which word was being used in which area? And I stood there and said, by simply adding context to the entire sentence. Once you have the entire sentence in play, you can tell which one he's referring to and which one he's referring about. And they're like, well, how do you know? It's like, because this is what Bible scholars do. And Bible scholars agree that they are talking about slavery here in this part of the Bible. And he goes, and then he completely changes it. He doesn't admit that he's wrong on that. He still assumes that they're just talking about indentured servitude.
Yeah, there's
aggravated. Christians do that a lot. Like, what was the point I was going to make? It was they'll change words. Like servant, slave, or sorcerer. They'll take that the Bible says don't follow sorcery or don't something about a sorcerer, and they'll say, well, you can't watch Harry Potter because of that. When literally 2,000 years ago, the word sorcerer didn't mean somebody conjuring magical demons or whatever. It literally meant like a con artist or a scammer, So it's, they do that all the time. Words 2,000 years ago were used differently than they are today, but they're going to use today's context to give you their truth.
Well, that's why I generally defer to people who are good at exegeting the Bible when I'm trying to figure out what a passage of the Bible actually means. Because when you've got when you've got a passage of the Bible and it says something, and you have a biblical literalist like an Anderson say that, oh, well, the Bible means this, and then you're like, well, let's see what that word meant in Greek. Okay, survey says you're lying.
Yeah, well, and that's like, one of mass justifications for slavery was, well, that's the Old Testament. Jesus changed everything. Well,
but he didn't.
Jesus condoned slavery himself, and in fact, his first sermon, the Sermon on the Mount, the first thing you get really from Jesus in the New Testament is, I didn't come to change the law. There's a whole host of contradictions when it comes to Jesus, and that's my whole thing on the Bible. Period. It's your interpretation. Your belief is based upon your interpretation, or the interpretation you've been given your whole life. And so when it comes to actually reading the Bible, most Christians don't care what it actually says. They only care about the interpretation.
Yep. So I think we're going to try to get through the next 22 seconds of this video, because I'm 90% certain there's going to be some dumb shit said in that amount of time. And after that, we are well past the 2-hour mark. So that'll probably be where we put the cap in it. We're going to try to hit 48 minutes. If they say one more dumb thing before that point, fucking help me.
Why don't you address it? Why don't you address it?
And you know this, the Grand Canyon argument has been argued on both sides. It's a stalemate. You know it. You're not being untruthful. You're just rejecting a certain side of the truth. It's proof that maybe something terraformed this planet to tune it precisely.
I don't think you can prove to an evolutionist anything he doesn't want to believe.
I think we can end it there.
I think that's fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Because that is 48 minutes and 9 seconds into this movie, and this is probably the 15th stone that Kent has thrown from his glass house.
Yeah.
I don't think you can prove to Kent Hovind anything that he doesn't already want to believe.
There you go.
Yeah.
Although, Nakasuchi, I will have to correct you here. I will have to correct you here that it's not a stalemate when it comes to the Grand Canyon. We bulldozer over them, and they have yet to admit that they've already lost.
Yeah, well, you got, like, I didn't know. The only thing that I had heard about the Grand Canyon was the Kent Ham Bill Nye debate, and Bill Nye destroyed them. But you got arguments from both sides. That's what I was trying to say, and I just didn't say it.
Yeah.
Both sides have their arguments with the Grand Canyon. You're going to say yours, they're going to say theirs. It's the stalemate is nobody's ever budged on.
Yeah, and in that I can agree that if neither side is convincing the other, there's a stalemate there.
There was, I remember, like, back in the Thunderfoot days of Atheist YouTube, watching him deal with creationists, and there was a point where Venom Fang X said that if with the global flood, the Grand Canyon could be created in about 5 minutes. And then Thunderfoot was like, okay, well, let's mathematically figure out what would have to happen in order to create the Grand Canyon in 5 minutes. And he concluded that the water would have to be traveling faster than the speed of sound or something like that in order to dig that out. And then there was another thing about like how fast water would have to fall in order to cover the entire planet if it rained. I think he gave it the full 40 days of raining in order to just get to covering the planet, and it was like you would have to have a waterfall on the entire planet.
Yeah. And I brought that up with Matt, and so he says that their new argument now is that the water came up from the deep. It wasn't all rain. It was right. And I was like, well, dude, that's climate change.
Well, the water coming up from the deep thing is something that Nephilim Free argued early on as well. And there's another video, again, I'm referencing Thunderfoot a lot, that Thunderfoot had a video on this one talking about a Nephilim Free's ejaculating moon theory, or moon ejaculation theory. So the idea was that when the tectonic plates opened up, or when the tectonic plates were created, there was several pockets of water underneath, and that involved a lot of water spewing out of the earth, right? And the reason why we have craters on the moon is because the earth ejaculated onto the moon through that. The water came out so hard and so fast that it went into space, and what we're looking at on the moon is just the 4,000 year old cum shot. I mean, water spewing onto the moon's face. Which, if you think that is the man in the moon theory, and you have any sort of masculine assignment to the moon, Earth is gay.
the Earth is just looking at the moon. It's just like, your mom gay, and the moon is just like, no, you gay.
No, you.
The moon's like trying to wipe its face off.
Actually,
that's not what I wanted.
Well, if you think about it, actually, in Greek mythology, the Earth is Gaia, and Gaia is a female, so would it be that it's not gay?
And then the moon
the moon is Luna, which is feminine. Therefore, the moon is still the Earth is still gay.
So the moon and the Earth are in lesbians with another?
And right, where the Earth and the moon are lesbians with one another, and in that lesbian relationship, the Earth ejaculated onto the moon's face.
Well, Matt Powell might be okay with it as long as he's female.
Which I don't know. Take it up with Nephilim Free. He's the one who said this.
I don't want to take anything up with Nephilim Free. I've already had a conversation with him.
I understand that, but the next time you do, you should ask him about the lesbian Earth.
Man, you're assuming that there's going to be a next time. You're giving a lot of charity to Nephilim.
I'm just letting the countdown happen because I think it's gonna happen. You're gonna wind up on Modern Day Debates channel, and Nephilim Free is gonna walk in, and he's gonna be like, "Hurdy, dirty, dirty, dirty," and you're gonna be like, "But lesbian moon." Explain to me the lesbian moon. I really want this to happen.
Oh my god.
I think now we all want it to happen.
I think now I want to die. That's just... Can I find his god and just commit deicide? I just go to Nephilim Free and just be like...
The only way to make the Earth-Moon relationship being straight would be to go with Norse mythology, in that the moon is masculine and the Earth is feminine.
Okay, well there you go.
So you mean when the meteor that impacted the Earth and bounced off of it, creating the moon, came, that was the moon trying to tap the Earth?
Well, there was a third body coming in, but whatever.
Just as an aside. I've been playing Skyrim again. Just replaying it. Love that game. So now every time I refer to the Norse, I say Nord.
I do. My roommate does this to me, where like.
Look, all I'm gonna say is with.
Oh, one second. Where I'll start saying something. He'll get me onto a thing where I'll start saying something that has to do with Norse mythology, and he'll look at me and he'll be like, Nord.
Yeah, that's me.
Like, I'm Nording out at that point. Like, so, whatever.
I love I love the Norse mythology, and I talk about it, and then I'm editing my videos, and I'm like, I said Nordic. Like
Nordic.
What am I doing?
That's the thing. Nordic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I said Nord, not Nordic. I said Nord.
Yeah, you're just being really Nordy.
Well, I do think though. as we approach 2 minutes or 2 minutes and 15 seconds. No, we've been here much longer than that.
1 minute, right?
But as we approach the 2 hour 15-minute mark, I do think that's going to be where we put the cap in it for now. This was a very eventful episode, considering that we got the little bit of conflict with Matt hopping on. I would like to extend the invitation that if there is also something that is brought up that we say and Matt wants to hold issue with that, then you're more than welcome to come in. We'll have that conversation. I am very much okay with that. But
I'm looking forward to something like that happening again. I think that'd be cool.
It was interesting. But with that said, that is where we're putting the cap on it for now. I do thank you all for coming out. I want to thank my guests for hopping on as well, including the ones that hopped in who we were not planning on having. Hi, Ocean.
Hey there, buddy.
It's almost like your co-host of my podcast that's not quite back up yet.
Right. I know. Everything's everywhere.
I know.
Ocean, you should have just said howdy ho.
No.
Mr. Hanky.
No.
But I do want to do a quick. There was requested in the chat that I do a quick plug for something. Me and Dr. Josh and his wife, Digital Hammurabi, are going to be doing a stream on Friday for anybody who was not already sick from me tackling the Biblical Gender Roles website on Monday and Mr. Atheist tackling it later, I believe, on Wednesday. If everybody's not already sick of that website and the crap they post there, we're going to be going over that website and another one of their articles on Friday live. And because this is actually their area of expertise, I think we already hammered down on Monday that the interpretations of the Bible that they were using were very literal and not actually historically accurate. And hopefully that means that Dr. Josh will be able to fact check some of this stuff a lot better than I can, because it's not my area of expertise, but it is most certainly one of his. So, hope you guys enjoy that on Friday. Also on Thursday, we're going to have another live show then, and then also there's going to be the 2 edited episodes Tuesday and Wednesday. Normally would be 3 edited episodes, but again, we're having the extra live show on Friday. So I hope you guys come out to all that, and I hope you guys enjoy that. And I'll be posting the dates and times for those on Twitter as I figure that out, because that's always fun. I never quite know when that's going to happen.
And Hammered Out will be returning someday. Let me finish this damn movie.
Yeah, as soon as Ocean finishes the movie he's working on, then we'll actually be able to do Hammered Out the way we normally do again. But until that's the case, then we're going to be doing either Hammered Out with various different co-hosts, or we're going to be doing various different live shows on Thursday. It just depends on what is available there. Also, I'd like to offer, since we do this show on Mondays, and we do not have Bionic Dance, and I do not believe that she's going to be coming back yet until she informs me otherwise. But until she informs me otherwise, Nagatsushi, if you ever want to return back onto this show at any point, let me know, and we can definitely make sure that that's a thing we can work out.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely interested. My schedule will be changing soon, but until then, I'm open.
All right, awesome. Then I'd like to thank you for hopping out. I'd like to thank Sean. I'd like to thank Russ, and I'd like to thank Ocean. Would you guys like to plug anything before we go?
No.
I just want to say that if y'all ever get the chance to, I want y'all to go and look at. It was an episode of the after show on the Non Sequitur show with Dr. Josh in there, and G-Man comes in there. And after having a conversation with G-Man, he sits there and said, Dr. Josh said, this is the first time I've ever been in a conversation with G-Man, and it's probably going to be the last. And whenever G-Man tries to say something about that, Dr. Josh says, I don't give a shit about you, G-Man. And that was it. That's how he ended that conversation with G-Man. I was like, oh my God, you should go watch that. It was fucking hilarious.
Jeez. All right. And then, Sean, is there anything you wanted to plug?
Now, of course, sub to me. That'd be nice. But if you're going to sub to anyone, there's 2 channels I specifically want to throw out there. Mrs. Snarky is really close to 400 subscribers. Last time I checked, she was 18 away. Let's help get her there, because she really deserves it. She makes a lot of great content. Also, Tatted Philosophy. He recently changed his name, formerly known as the Tatted Atheist. He is criminally undersubbed. He makes a lot of great content.
Mrs. Snarky's at 415, by the way, Sean.
Oh, she already passed it.
So we have to get her to 500.
That's good.
We have to get her to 500.
Subbed her anyway. And yeah, of course, Tatted Philosophy. We need to get him to up there as well.
I'll echo those two people as well. I think that they're both chill. I've had a lot of good conversations with Mrs. Snarky and Tatted Philosophy as well. They're really good people.
Awesome. With that, we're going to go ahead and hop off. I thank you all for coming out, and I know that this was definitely a little different having Matt on, but I think having Matt hop in and call into the show was certainly a welcome change from just going through the standard debunk. So hopefully that little bit of extra stuff was interesting for everybody. We'll see you guys next Monday and on every other episode that's on this channel, because I forgot what a life was.